Assalamu alaikum. In a world that's changing so incredibly fast, you have to ask, what's the real point of higher education anymore? Is it just about absorbing facts, or is it about building our ability to think, to create, and to really make a difference? Today, we're going to unpack a system that's designed from the ground up to do exactly that. And this really gets to the heart of a massive shift in how we look at learning. It challenges that old school idea that education is something that's just, given to you. Instead, it suggests that real education is something a student has to actively build for themselves. So what we're talking about here is this huge pivot. We're moving away from a teacher-centered world where it's all about what the lecturer says to a student-centered one. The new focus is all about what a student can actually do when they walk out the door. Honestly, it's a complete game changer. All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with the core idea, then look at the national blueprint that makes it possible. After that, we'll see how it's implemented in the real world, check out the quality controls, and finally talk about the big payoff. Okay, first up, the big idea. And look, this is so much more than just rearranging the chairs in a classroom. We're talking about a really deep philosophical shift. The goal isn't just to transfer information anymore. It's to actively build up a student's real-world skills and capabilities. And there's a name for this whole approach. It's called outcome-based education or OB. The core idea is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. You start with the end in mind. Before you plan a single lecture, you have to ask, what should my students be able to do when this is all over? Everything, and I mean everything, flows from that one question. And this right here is the bottom line. It makes the entire education system accountable to the real world. The ultimate test isn't a final exam score. It's whether a graduate can actually step into their job and learn and thrive. Okay, so student-centered learning is a great idea, right? But how do you actually make it happen consistently across an entire country's higher education system? Well, for that, you need a seriously good blueprint. In Malaysia, that blueprint is the Malaysian Qualifications Framework, or MQF for short. The best way to think about it is like the National Operating System for Higher Education. It sets these clear nationwide standards for what every single qualification actually means in terms of knowledge. And more importantly, what's so great about the MNQF is that it creates this incredibly clear and transparent ladder for learning. It defines the exact steps all the way from a basic certificate to a doctorate, making sure each level is a solid, logical step up from the one before it. But here's the really crucial part. This framework isn't just about book smarts or academic theory. No way. It makes sure every single graduate is developed holistically. We're talking about thinking skills, practical work skills, practical personal drive, and of course, a strong ethical compass. The whole package. All right, so we've got the philosophy and we've got the national blueprint, but how does this grand plan actually translate into what happens in the classroom every single day? The engine that makes all of this work is a concept called constructive alignment. Now, it might sound a little academic, but the idea is actually super simple. It just means that everything a teacher does and everything a student is asked to do is deliberately connected to those learning goals we talked about. Nothing is random. Every single activity has a clear purpose. Let's make this really concrete with a simple example. So imagine a course has this specific outcome. Notice it's not about learning about presentations. No, it's about being able to actually give one using modern tech. So if that's the goal, you can see right away that just having students sit and listen to a lecture, well, that's not going to cut it right. The learning has to be active. It has to involve things like projects and group work where students are constantly practicing the very skills they're supposed to be building. And then, of course, the way you test them has to match. It just makes sense you wouldn't give them a multiple choice quiz on presentation theory. The assessment is the task itself. You have them give presentations, analyze case studies, even assess each other's work. You are directly measuring the outcome, and that right there is constructive alignment in action. Okay? So we've got the philosophy, the blueprint, the teaching method, but who's checking the homework? Who makes sure this entire system is actually being held to a high standard? Well, that's where the Malaysian Qualifications Agency, or MQA comes in. You can think of them as the national guardians of quality for higher education. Their job is to make absolutely sure that every single accredited program is actually delivering what it promises. And the MQA's approach isn't just a one-time check. It's not like they show up, give a thumbs up, and then disappear. No, their entire philosophy is built around a cycle of continual quality improvement. Programs have to constantly plan, do check, and then act to get better. It's a process that truly never stops. To make sure they're looking at everything, the MQA uses a guide called COPPA. It's basically their playbook for a complete 360-degree quality check. It covers everything from how a program is designed and taught, all the way to the quality of the professors and the support services its students get. So we've gone through this whole system, all the pieces and parts, but at the end of the day, what's the actual result? Why does any of this really matter? Let's talk about the payoff. That's the real beauty of it. When a system is truly designed around the student, it's not just the student who wins. It creates this amazing ripple effect. Students get a far more relevant education and tangible skills they can use. Industry gets graduates who are actually ready to hit the ground running. And the entire nation benefits from a high-quality workforce that can innovate and grow the economy. It's a win-win-win. So this entire shift leaves us with one final, and I think really critical question to chew on. If learning is now all about what the student can do, not just what they know, what does that mean for the role of the teacher? They're not just a sage on the stage anymore, delivering content. They become a guide on the side, a designer of learning experiences, a mentor, a coach. And that right there is a profound change that redefines the very future of teaching itself.